I just wanted to make a quick video about what has been going on in my world over the last 3 weeks. If you haven't already guessed, I live in Western North Carolina. And so if you have noticed on the news, we experienced Hurricane Helene 3 weeks ago, and it has really impacted our area. If you go on to the main page of my YouTube channel, you will see the banner picture is a beautiful view of the Blue Ridge Mountains where I live. I'm going to make a separate video at some point to talk about the details of my experience living through the natural disaster and share some footage and pictures that I have taken over the last 3 weeks. I wanted to talk about the invisibility of rheumatoid arthritis, the social impact of that, and how it feels to live with an invisible illness, and especially my experience with RA living through a natural disaster. Initially, we did not expect it to be as bad as it was. We knew that we were going to get heavy rain in this area, and we were expected to lose power, but we were not expecting to lose it for several days or weeks, as it actually has turned out to be. As far as rheumatoid arthritis, I think it was about day 3 when I realized I was about to lose everything in my refrigerator since I didn't have power. And then I realized that, oh yes, my Hyramaz is in my refrigerator. So my first instinct was to go onto my phone and research it on the internet about how long can Hyramaz be outside of the refrigerator. And I couldn't use my phone because we didn't have cell service or internet. So luckily, the pamphlets come in handy. So I pulled out this gigantic pamphlet, and it took me a really long time to find it because these things are gigantic. But the pamphlet told me that Hyramaz can be without refrigeration for 21 days. So luckily, I was in the right window where I didn't have to lose my medication. For the first 2 weeks, I think I was just running on adrenaline. Luckily, the Hyramaz had been working so well for me prior to the hurricane that when I needed to go into stores and get supplies, and I just needed to do what I needed to do, also even volunteering in the community to help our neighbors, I was able to move and my mobility was not affected at that time. But it was exactly 2 weeks after the hurricane. It was time for me to take my medicine, and I experienced a pain flare. I knew that stress is the number one cause of a flare for a lot of patients. I was very lucky and grateful that I lasted 2 weeks without one. So it didn't surprise me when it happened. It does interfere with the social aspect of it because rheumatoid arthritis is an invisible illness. You cannot see it. And the word able body really means something to me now, even though I've never really had given it much thought before, but I appear as though I have, or that I am an able-bodied person. And so when I go to volunteer and I'm with people who do not know me personally, they could probably have expectations that I could stand for long periods of time or lift certain things or be able to work longer hours and that sort of thing and be able to volunteer. And, part of my passion is I love to volunteer and help and serve people. It was hard for me to limit my hours whenever I was volunteering and actually limit my days. I had volunteered 2 days in a row, and I'd only volunteered 3 hours each day because I knew I needed to pace myself. And the third day, I decided to stay home and rest, which was good for my mental health because it's so hard and difficult to process all of the devastation and the loss. And, this is the community in which we live, and so many buildings now are being taken down or removed, and it's just hard to see the change. I'm glad that I rested that day. It was good for my mental health, but the next day is when the pain flare started. So it could have been from a crash after the adrenaline rush. It could have been because I had overdone it and did way too much activity than I normally do. And it could also be from the stress. And then I was also due to take my medicine again. So it was just a perfect storm. Another thing that happened was I found myself in a group of people that, while I was volunteering, and then also in other situations, sometimes you find yourself in a group of people that don't know you personally. I needed to go to my car after I'd already been standing outside for about an hour, and now the temperatures are dropping because it's fall, and cold weather really affects my joints and affects my pain. After about an hour, I needed my cane, so I went to my car to get my cane. And I literally was sitting there at my car thinking and holding my cane in my hand. And I was like, what are these people going to think when I come back with a cane and I'm limping? And it's not necessarily that I care about what people think, because I did get over that several months ago whenever I had to start using a wheelchair, and when I use my cane in public, I do get a lot of crazy stares, especially when I'm in my wheelchair. And even when I'm using my cane, I just get a lot of funny looks. So it's not necessarily that I care what people think. I don't care what they think. I guess the contrast aspect of it, when you saw me for an hour and I seem as though I am an able-bodied person, and then all of a sudden you see me limping with a cane. So it's just I guess it's the contrast of it in such a short period of time. And sometimes I am very surprised at how my mobility and pain can change very rapidly. I mean, throughout the day or within an hour, it can change significantly. Socially, it's just awkward sometimes. And I'm just curious, if you have rheumatoid arthritis, if you've experienced these social interactions where one moment you seem fine and then the next minute you are not so much so, and how do you process that? Like I've said in other videos, it's a roller coaster. It's up and down, and we just have to go with the flow. Thanks for listening, and thank you so much for sticking around, and thank you so much for your wonderful comments and suggestions that you've given me over the last year. I'm actually coming up on my 1-year anniversary of the first time I ever experienced a rheumatoid arthritis symptom. So it's been quite a year for sure. So anyway, thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.